Let's go back to Discord. It's the last show of the year. It's the last segment of the year. We're going to hear from a few people in the audience and see what everybody has to say. Why don't we go next to Brandon from Illinois? Brandon, welcome to the David Pakman Show. What do you have going on today?
Hi, David. Thanks for having me on.
Pleasure.
You know, my question here is about kind of around the Luigi Mangione story and just the general discontent for the status quo. It seems like there's real appetite out there for some real change on both sides of the political spectrum, but it doesn't seem like it's very organized. So my question is, what kind of what kind of movement do you see coming out, and the kind of changes you see coming forward? And do you think there's a way that the Democratic left can kind of guide that into, excuse me, into good policies that we can push going forward?
You know, whether the Democratic left can guide this, I don't know. I don't know. The Democratic left is hurting in a lot of ways, and organizationally is one of those ways. I think that if we're going to see real systemic change when it comes to health insurance and the kind of health insurance medical industrial complex, I struggle to believe that it will result from anything other than creating an environment in which the health insurance companies have to do something different. And when I think about that, and I think about the size of the health insurance industry, my mind goes to it's got to be regulatory, right? It's got to be something on the scope and scale of Obamacare, but it has to go further. Is it states starting single payer systems the way Vermont tried to do, but ultimately failed to do? Maybe that would shock some of these companies into saying we've got to do something different. Is it a robust public option, a real, not these, marketplace plans that are still for profit, a real public option? Is it regulations that say, okay, Obamacare said you can stay on parents' insurance since 26, you can't be rejected for pre-existing conditions. There's this list of stuff, but statins for cholesterol have to be free at the point of purchase. Going further, and here's the next 10 things that we're going to do. I think it has to be something of regulatory and legal scale. Now, I don't know that there are some people who are like, oh, if you just kill the CEOs of all the companies, it would all change. Aside from the absurd kind of vigilante nature of that, I don't even think that would change the system. I just have no reason to think that would. So I think that this has to be approached legislatively, legally, and in a regulatory way.
Yeah, I would agree with you that I think that the vigilante justice is really just more of an emotional response. It's not going to lead to any big change. Do
Mm.
you think that uh, campaigning and focusing more on the populist healthcare message would lead to more change and also lead to more success for the left?
I would say yes, but it can't be a healthcare only campaign. I think it needs to address all of the issues that Kamala Harris left unaddressed in a way that makes people feel like, okay, my concerns are being heard. And we talked about economic issues. We talked about immigration. We talked about crime. Many voters just didn't hear what they wanted to hear. It doesn't matter what the facts are. I said I tell the facts every day on the show, but it doesn't really matter what the facts are at the end of the day. I think yes on the healthcare message, but it's got to be coupled with all of that other stuff. All right, Brandon, very much appreciate the call from Illinois. Let's go next to Gerald from Miami. Gerald, welcome to this final show of the year. What's on your mind today?
David, sir,
Yes.
I'm curious. I was having this conversation with my dad the other day, and it was kind of like jokingly, but more and more, I think it might actually, they might try and do it. But do you think Trump would try and like get his face on like some sort of bill?
Trump is extremely self-centered and egotistical. My prediction is as while he is president, Trump is not going to try to put his face on a bill or on a coin. Now, after he's out of office, if he survives that long, I think it's plausible that he would support a movement to do that. But I do not think that while he's in office, Trump will try to do that.
Gotcha. Okay. I was just curious what you thought, because he does seem like the type to try,
100%. But I think he would
Maybe,
wait until he's out of office.
yeah, he might even create like like a 47th bill or something weird, just.
The $47 bill with Trump's face on it. Yeah, would make calculating change a little difficult. But Gerald, thank you for the question. All right. There goes Gerald. Let's go next to Nick from Texas. Nick, welcome to the show. What's going on with you?
Not much. Trying to enjoy the holidays.
Excellent.
Yeah. So I guess my question for you is, okay, now this is a big assumption, but assuming that, after his 4 years, Trump does leave office.
Yep.
I'm curious what you expect his role to be in the Republican Party, because I think the immediate assumption is that he's going to be sort of like a kingmaker and, like basically appoint the next Republican to run for office.
Right.
But he's a little old at this point. I think everybody knows that. So I'm just curious on your thoughts about, 4 years down the line in 2028. Yeah, 2028. What is his role going to be?
I think it depends on two things. Number one, you're sort of alluding to one of those things, which is what is Trump's health at the time. Trump does seem to have deteriorated significantly over the last 4 and 8 years. So what sort of shape is he going to be in when he's 82, 83 in 2028, 2029? Secondly, does he leave seemingly successfully based on what Republicans see of this forthcoming second term? Or is the second term an obvious, humiliating fiasco? That's really going to determine Trump's power at the end of his forthcoming term and beyond that. Now, there are rumors that this entire thing is to set up J.D. Vance to run for president in 2028 with Don Jr. as his running mate. Obviously, if that happens, that will be seen as Trump succeeding as kingmaker, and then all bets are off. He may well continue having power if he's fit enough to have it into his 80s.
Right. And I will say the thing that you touched upon, I think the reason he's going to end up being a kingmaker is twofold. One, the Republicans don't really seem to care that much about his health.
No.
I think we've seen that.
Yeah.
And then the second thing as well is that, okay, obviously if he has a disaster of a, second term, then okay, yeah, then this is all a moot point. But currently he has the Supreme Court under Republican control, the House and the Senate for this upcoming session. I really fail to see how, maybe I'll be surprised. The Republicans tend to do surprising things, but I just fail to see how, what could even remotely stop them.
Here's what you're forgetting. Nick. That is all true for the next 2 years. But Republicans historically should do pretty poorly in 2026. And if the second half of Trump's term doesn't include control of the House and Senate and achievements slow to a crawl, and he takes some political losses, things could look very different in 2028 than in 2026. That's what I would keep in mind.
Okay. Maybe I'm, glass half full, glass half empty, I guess.
Yeah. All right, Nick from Texas, great to hear from you. Very much appreciate it. Well, I wrote a book after a long journey and a ton of work. I am really thrilled with how it turned out, and I hope you'll read it. The book is called The Echo Machine, and in a nutshell, it looks at how American politics got so broken, who has already figured out solutions, and how we can try to fix it and stop the terror of Trump for the next 4 years. With Trump winning this election, The Echo Machine couldn't be more relevant, not only a warning about how we got here, but also about what might be coming and how to prevent the worst outcomes. We've got to stay engaged. We need a plan, and that's what the book is about. There's a belief out there that unless you have corporate media behind you, you can't have a successful political book launch, that it's not possible. I think we can prove that wrong. Order The Echo Machine today at davidpakman.com/echo on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Audible, Kindle, anywhere that books, ebooks, and audiobooks are sold. You can also call any local bookstore and say, please order me The Echo Machine by David Pakman. Wherever you get the book,
you'll get the free pre-order perks, including the signed book plate. Head to davidpakman.com/freebookstuff after ordering.